Hello and welcome to this video. Unfortunately, I misplaced or deleted or somehow the video footage for the intro of this video disappeared. So I am doing this as I edit. I went through all my video footage and for the life of me cannot find the intro that I filmed, so we are refilming that. But basically all I said was that this is a reading vlog for the Reindeer Readathon, which is something that takes place over the entire month of December, and you get sorted into different groups. So this year I was in the group Stocking, and I think the other groups are Mistletoe, like Candy Cane. They're all Christmas themed group names, and there's a Discord chat where you can talk to people. I don't do that a whole lot, but there's also points that go along with the books that you read. So if you're curious about my TBR and what books I chose for the different prompts that we were given for this reading challenge, I will link the video somewhere for you to click on and see the whole TBR. I'm not going to go over it right now because I went over it in that video in depth trying to figure out what books I wanted to choose. So the first book that I start with in this video is Nothing to See Here. This book right here. It is a book about friends reuniting, and it talks about Lillian and Madison, who haven't spoken since they were inseparable roommates at boarding school. Now 10 years later, Madison needs Lillian's help in raising her twin stepkids, but the stepkids catch fire. And so it's kind of a weird thing that's going on. This is a literary fiction book, and you'll have to see how I felt about it in the following clips. Hello. I just finished getting ready this morning. My baby is asleep in her crib, so I thought I would film a little update. I haven't been good at it. So I think about 70% of the way of Nothing to See Here. I am actually really enjoying it, and I'm realizing maybe I need to read more literary fiction because it's just so good. So at the very beginning of the book, we are following our main character who doesn't have the best upbringing. Her dad's not in the picture, and she ends up getting this like scholarship because she really applies herself in school, and she's able to go to this really fancy school with all these rich people, right? And it's a boarding school also, so she is staying in like it sounds like a dorm situation with another girl who is rich, of course, but she seems a little bit different. She kind of befriends our main character, even though she is a scholarship student and some people maybe would look down on her. But we find out very quickly, this is like minor spoilers, but this is within the first like hour of the book, so I feel like you find this out pretty quickly. Our main character's friend, dorm mate, whatever, she does some things and our main character takes the fall for her, which unfortunately gets consequences and there's issues there, but these girls do keep in touch. They write letters, and her friend ends up marrying a very rich man who is a senator, and he has kids with his previous wife who catch on fire, which is why the cover is a child catching on fire. And so she writes, and this is in the synopsis, she writes to our main character and asks her if she would be like a governess or a nanny for these children because they need someone to take care of them. Something's happened to their mother and they are coming back into this estate. However, it's obviously very complicated because they catch on fire. And so there was concerns obviously about them burning the house down and things like that. And these children aren't very well behaved is what we're hearing. And going into this book, I was not sure how I would feel about it because I think when you have children in books, it's really hard to write them well and not annoying. Like, I feel like it's very easy to write a child, but have it feel very much like an adult has written them, and or have them just be really annoying to read and listen to. But I feel like this author actually did a pretty decent job of representing a child that's like clearly gone through some trauma and has issues. Two children. I think they're twins. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I've only listened to it as an audiobook. I was able to get it on Libby, and I do actually really like the narrator. She does like a little bit of an accent for the characters, but it's not too much. It's like just enough to make it interesting to listen to. Because I think this takes place in Tennessee. So there's like a little bit of a southern drawl listening to it. And I really like it. Sometimes I have a hard time with audiobook narrators and the voices that they try to do, but this one I like. I don't know. This one, right now, 70% of the way through, I feel like it could be a 4 or a 5 star. Maybe like a 4.5. I guess it depends how it ends. I really don't know where it's going. I feel like that's the thing with literary fiction is it's not always clear how it's going to go, right? Like you have romance books, you know the tropes, you know typically there's like a third act, right? Where there's like a miscommunication and they get back together and it's fine. You know, mystery books I feel like are sometimes kind of predictable. Thrillers also tend to have like certain tropes that they follow, but the literary fiction books that I've read tend to be a little bit less obvious. So I don't know where this is going. Like, are these kids going to perfectly fit in with this family at some point by the end of the book? Or are they going to hate living there? What's going to happen to our main character? Like, I just don't know. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I don't know if being a mom now makes me relate to it more because these children are kind of like older, like elementary school age. And my baby is not even a year old. So I think if I had read this when she was a bit older, maybe I could have related to it a bit more. I do think I have that like motherly feel towards things now, like when I watch movies and read books and things. But obviously my kid hasn't gotten to this age yet, so it is a little bit different. But yeah, that's how we're doing. We have Friendsgiving and White Elephant party tonight with some friends, or today. Now that we all have babies, we try to do things a little earlier in the day. So my day is going to be spent mostly just tidying up our house because we're having people over and doing a little bit of cooking. I'm going to make some gravy with the turkey fat. And my husband is smoking a turkey, but I have turkey fat left over from Thanksgiving, but that's beside the fact. I will be listening to this audiobook as I go about doing things though. So there is a possibility that I finish it today. I don't know. I only have 2 hours left, which isn't that bad. Yeah, I will check in later, probably once I finish this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, white. They have like 5 white noise machines.
I am working on cooking dinner right now. I'm heating up my pan to make some French toast. My husband is going out with the guys tonight, but I'm gonna give my baby French toast for the first time. She's had bread, she's had eggs. I think it'd be cute. But that is completely beside the point. I just wanted to check in and say that I did finish Nothing to See Here. And like I said, when I talked about it before, I really enjoyed this book. I liked the writing. It's just an enjoyable read, despite not really being so sure about it going into it. Something did happen at the end of the book that I was not expecting. It was kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I felt like it was needed in the book. Like, I don't think it was a bad decision, but I don't know. I was just kind of about why it happened. But it was okay. It definitely wasn't expected. The way that the book ended overall, like where our characters ended up, obviously I don't want to say it because I don't want to spoil it, was kind of expected. I did see it. And I do want to say there was a point in the book where they were talking about a character kind of like mourning their previous life and being like, I don't know if I want this thing to happen or if I don't. And it's kind of like this thing could happen and it's really good and it's great, but also there's a part of you that mourns and is sad for what you're going to be losing out on. And I do feel like I felt that a little bit coming into motherhood when I had my baby. Like, obviously I'm so excited to have my baby and I love her and I'm glad she's here. But sometimes you think back to how life was before having a baby and you're like, wow,
it was simpler. Like I didn't have to think about putting a child down for bed or for a nap. And I had the freedom to just leave the house when I wanted to leave the house. And so there is a part of me that like mourns that part of my life, but I also wouldn't have it any other way. Like I love my life the way that it is now. So I liked that the author kind of touched on that and brought it into the book because it's not something I've seen mentioned in a book before.
Okay, it's nighttime. I'm in my pajamas. I just did dishes and started the dishwasher. So if there's noise in the background, that's why. I'll try to do what I can in editing so you can't hear it. I have my hot chocolate. I thought we would talk about what I'm reading. So, like I mentioned, I finished Nothing to See Here, but I also, like a day ago, started Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I did start it as an audiobook, but I don't know if I'm enjoying it as much as an audiobook as I would reading it physically. I read the first book physically and absolutely loved it, but I feel like the way that the narrator talks and gives voices to the characters isn't exactly how I imagined it in my head. And it's not bad, it's just not how I was reading it, which is fine. So I had a hard time. I think I listened to like 15 minutes of it on a car ride and was like, I'm not feeling it. Took a break from it for a day, and then I listened to a good amount today, I think like 45 minutes or so. So I'm probably like an hour and a half into the audiobook at the moment. I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's a pretty book. I like the cover. I am tempted to switch to reading it physically. I just don't have time to read physically at the moment. Audiobooks are just a lot easier for me right now because I have my car ride to and from work, which is 45 minutes to an hour each way. So I've got a lot of time to listen. But the only time I really get to sit down and read is at night, and I've been knitting a lot lately, and I really want to knit. So audiobooks are just easier. I know I don't need to make excuses, and I think like a while ago, a couple years, maybe it's still happening. There is discourse on whether or not audiobooks counted as reading, and I do think it does count as reading. You're just reading in a different format. You're still getting the story into your brain. You're just not reading with your eyes, you're reading with your ears. And some people, I think, do a lot better with audio versus visual. I'm somewhere in between. Sometimes I do find for audiobooks, if I'm not fully mentally present, I'll start zoning out and thinking about other things, so I have to be careful with that. But now that I've listened to it a little bit more, I am intrigued, I'm interested. It picks up, I feel like, right after the first book. I'm trying to think when I read that. I think I read it in the summer, which, okay, this is one of my pet peeves, is the cover had a bunch of flowers on it, and so I was thinking, oh, this is like a springy, summery book. This is a good time to read this book. No, it was all like snowy and winter in the book. So just be warned, if you're a mood reader or like to read things in the season where it makes sense to read them, read that one like now in the winter. Don't read it in the spring like the cover might indicate. I don't know if maybe something in the like synopsis or anything indicated that it was snowy, but I did not get that hint. Anyhow, so far our current book doesn't really feel one way or the other. They're currently back at school. I feel like I can't really say too much because it's the second book in a series, and anything that I could say about what's happening now, I feel like would indicate something that we found out or that happened in the first book. But I am enjoying our characters as much as I did the first book, and I'm curious to see where this one went. This is one where I know we're carrying on with our characters, and I'm like, I have some idea of where we're going because of what happened in the first book, but I didn't read the synopsis. Goodness. So I don't really know exactly where this is going, but yeah. That's my little update. I have like half an hour to an hour before bed, so I am going to knit and watch TV because that's my life right now, you know? As much as I like reading, that's not my only hobby, so it is what it is. I seem to only be checking in when I'm cooking. Right now I'm making a chicken pot pie.
But I think I'm about 25% through the Emily Wilde book. I'm enjoying it. I finally feel like I've gotten into the book, and with the narrator of the audiobook, I enjoy our characters' chemistry, and this time around we have a couple new characters. There's a professor joining us on this journey that we're taking. We're again taking a trip to another region. And then we also, I think it was our main character's niece, Emily's niece, is also along for the ride. And we just arrived at this cabin, and there's only 3 rooms. Originally, this professor was not meant to join on the trip, and so now we have this plot where, you know, who's gonna sleep where. So I'm curious if Wendell and Emily will end up sharing a room, or I feel like what would make the most sense is for Emily and her niece to share a room, and then Wendell can have his own room and the other professor can have his own room. But we'll see how logic prevails in this book. Anyhow, I'm enjoying it. I did also buy myself a book today. I ran to Barnes & Noble and I got What Stalks the Deep, so I can read that. This is a pretty short one. I think it's slightly less than 200 pages. Then I also got a little book for the baby, The Mitten. I'm pretty sure I read this as a kid, but in one that was not a board book. But right now she's at the age where everything goes in her mouth and she just wants to tear things to pieces. So if I gave her actual paper, it would not last long. So we're doing the board book. I will probably read this to her tonight before bed. We always try to read a story before bed. Anyhow, that's my little reading update. I also am on break now, which is really nice. And means that I will hopefully be able to read a little bit more now, because while I was working, it was so hard. And then the last few weeks of work before this break were just so busy, and I was trying to get stuff done. I didn't have the time to read. When I had time before bed, I really honestly just wanted to like knit and do something where I just didn't really have to think or use my brain. Knitting does sometimes use your brain, but I'm working on a project right now that's a little bit monotonous, if I'm being honest, so it doesn't use my brain all that much, which is kind of nice sometimes, you know? Anyhow, I'm gonna make this chicken pot pie. I'll probably check in sometime tomorrow. Hopefully I can do a lot more reading, because I've only finished 1 book so far, and today's, what, the 14th? So we have a lot of reading to try to do in the next couple weeks. I've just finished Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and I loved it. I don't think it's quite a 5-star. I'm gonna give it a 4 stars. The bedroom trope that I kind of mentioned wasn't really a thing that happened. It was a concern that turned into a non-concern. Anyhow, you'll know if you read the book. I enjoyed it. This is, again, while it does have flowers and things on the front, I do feel like this is better read if you are a seasonal reader. I think fall or like winter, because they are cold a majority of this book. There are some parts where like there are flowers and things happening, but I would say fall or winter for this. We do have this little fox on the front, and that kind of clues you into a character that we're going to meet. We do see Poe again. If you've read the first book, you know who that is. Such a cute little character. He plays kind of a big part in this book. He's not in it like a ton, but he does do some really helpful things. We go on an adventure with Emily and Wendell, and I am very excited to get into the next book, so I'm probably going to see if it's available as an audiobook on Libby as well, so I can start that right away. But what I didn't realize was that this audiobook actually has 2 narrators, which means that it can fit for a different prompt, and that prompt is Cupid, where we had to choose a pairing, where either you had a physical book that was translated, an ebook that was co-authored, or an audiobook with multiple narrators. I was going to listen to Remarkably Bright Creatures, but I had the concern that the book might not be available soon enough. But because this had 2 narrators, I am going to use this instead for that prompt, which means we have the Dasher prompt open, which is a book where the combined sum total of all the numbers in the page count must be greater than 12. So we're gonna figure out a different book to read for that.
I did just buy the next 2 books in the Spy Family series, so I'm hoping I can use that. But the unfortunate thing with manga is it doesn't number the pages in the book. So I need to actually look it up on Goodreads and see how many pages it has to see if it'll fit. 194 pages. So that actually does work because that gives me 14. And I think I just need to be over 12, right? Yes. So, for Dasher, I'm actually going to read this, which is nice because I always like for readathons to have a couple short books and a couple long books. So this will be a nice, easy, quick read. I hope to get to it probably in the next few days. I think probably soon because I have a few books that I could travel with to Florida. This is one that just because it reads so quickly, I don't really want to bring it on a plane with me because I feel like it's just taking up space when I can probably read it in, I don't know, like an hour. Other books, I don't mind bringing them if it's going to take me several hours and it can entertain me for the entire flight, you know? And I will definitely be taking my Kindle, maybe downloading a book or 2 on there. But yeah, I'm excited to get to this. The weather outside is a little dreary, so if this video is a little dark, that's why. We don't have the best lighting. But I want to check in and say that I finished Spy Family Volume 14. Volume 15 is out already, but I was a little bit behind. I am actually going to give this 5 stars. I actually really enjoyed it. I rarely give manga or graphic novels 5 stars. I actually don't know if I ever have, because the stories go so quickly. I feel like it's hard to really connect to your characters. But, I mean, this is the 14th in a volume. I don't know. I really enjoy it. We get background on our teacher. I think his name is Henry. And then also on Becky's maid, Martha. Maid? I don't think she's a maid. She's more like a, I don't know what her job would be. She helps around the house. She takes care of Becky. So I don't know what that position would be, but we get backstory on them, and it's, I don't know, it made me tear up a little bit. It was really good. We also get to see Anya in like a fancy outfit because there's a little dance. And I love when we get to see our characters in new clothes. They're not just wearing the same clothes as they always do. It's just kind of fun. I enjoy it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I started it last night, read about half of it before I figured I should probably go to bed, and then I finished the other one this morning. My baby is playing on the floor, so I got through a decent amount this morning, and then she woke up, and she usually has a little bit of independent play in the morning while I drink my coffee, read, whatever, but yeah, done with this. I'm excited. I think the next book I'm going to pick up is Monstrous because it's another one that shouldn't take me too terribly long to read, and I don't want to travel with that, but I also don't want to download it on my Kindle because I don't love reading graphic novels and things on the Kindle. I also have the Paperwhite, so I wouldn't be able to see it in color, and Monstrous art is so beautiful that I want to enjoy it while I'm reading it. Unfortunately, in editing this video, I realized I also don't have any clips where I talk about Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. I talked about the Map of the Other Lands, but not this book. So I'm filming a little recap of reading this. I did listen to it as an audiobook. I started listening to it as soon as I could after reading Map of the Other Lands, and I think that's why I didn't film a lot of clips, because I listened to it while going for walks or driving or whatever, and I guess I just like never thought to sit down and film an update on it. I don't know. I I gave this a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It just didn't have that something that pushes it into 5. For me, rating something 5 stars isn't necessarily about whether or not the book is actually good or well written. I think for me it is more about a feeling, like an emotional connection to the book. It's just something you feel, you know? And that didn't quite happen with this book, but I did still really enjoy it. I don't want to say too much because there's a lot that happens in this book because of things that happened in the previous 2 books, but if we look at the synopsis, I will try to not read parts that might be potential spoilers, but it says, along with her formal academic rival, the dashing and mercurial Wendell Bamblebee, Emily is immediately thrust into the deadly intrigues of Fairy. Yeah, so much of this is actually a spoiler. Which Emily finds to be a beautiful nightmare filled with scholarly treasures. Emily has been obsessed with fairy stories her entire life, but at first she feels as ill-suited to fairy as she did to the mortal world. There is little time to settle in, for Wendell's murderous stepmother has placed a deadly curse upon the land before vanishing without a trace. It will take all of Wendell's magic and Emily's knowledge to unravel the mystery before they lose everything they hold dear. This one, of course, again, takes place almost entirely in fairy. There is some in like the real world and stuff, but it is very heavily in fairy. If you've read the second book, you kind of see where this is going, but I don't want to say too much. But I definitely think you should continue reading the series. I think there's more in this series. This is the 3rd one, and I think there will be more, hopefully. So I'm excited to continue reading the series if we get more books. I've done a little bit of baking today, and well, it's not really baking. I made fudge and peanut brittle, so I guess candy making, Christmas candy making. But during that entire time, I was listening to Emily Wilde's. For the whole time, I was listening to the 3rd Emily Wilde book, and I'm enjoying it. I think I'm around halfway through. It's definitely different from the other books because we are spending most of the time in fairy. The first 2 books you spend a lot of time in the real world, with little glimpses of fairy and getting into those realms, but this time we are almost primarily in fairy, which is fun, but it is definitely a different vibe. We're getting to meet new characters and learn more about fairy. Again, it's hard for me to really talk about it because it is the 3rd book in a series, so if I tell you why we're here or how we got here, it would ruin what happened in previous books. But while it is quite different, it is still interesting me. I'm not bored of it yet. I don't know if there's a 4th book coming out. For some reason, I feel like there is. And I hope so, because while I could see the series ending after this book, I want it to continue. I like these characters. I do like that we have this like little bit of a romance situation going on, but it's not really like spicy or anything. After reading books like ACOTAR, where it's just a little bit in your face, and I know some books are way worse than ACOTAR, but I like this just kind of like quiet kind of romance situation. It's nice, it's refreshing, I guess. Anyhow, I am taking a little bit of break. The baby is asleep. I don't know for how much longer because she's already been taken this nap for an hour, but I just finished doing a little craft that I am doing for a friend, and I'm going to start Monstrous, and I'll just be reading it until the baby wakes up. I'm interested to get into this. Again, this is another one, unfortunately, it's volume 10 in the series, so I don't feel like I can talk about anything that's happening, but the art is beautiful as always. I was going to buy this one from Barnes & Noble because a lot of times Barnes & Noble has special editions, but they did not have it. So I had to order this guy on Amazon. Anyhow, I am going to start reading.
been a few weeks since the Reindeer Readathon ended. Sorry if you can see some clutter in the back. I'm working on taking some Etsy photos, so I have my like light box thing up. Anyhow, so we're filming the outro here. I finished reading Monstrous and I did enjoy it. I think I gave it a 4 stars. It's really hard to talk about it at this point because it's what, the 10th book in the series, so I can't really say anything without giving plot away. And I do feel like the book has kind of rambled on where it's kind of like, I don't know what's happening anymore, but this one I feel like I got a little bit more engaged. I do like our characters. There's some interesting backstory. This is one where I feel like I could probably benefit from rereading the books just because there's been so much time since that first, second, third book. And I feel like the plot would make more sense to me if I reread everything because I would remember all the random little details that I've probably forgotten at this point. But I did enjoy it. Unfortunately, I did not get around to reading any other books. I didn't read on vacation at all, and I was not able to read at all on the plane. My child just wanted to be moving around the entire time. We had a third seat for her so she could sit in it, but she did not want to. Every time we tried to put her in the car seat, she cried. She spent a majority of the time bouncing on my lap and playing with the people behind us. I think they were playing peekaboo or something with her, and chewing on my husband's sweater strings. That was what entertained her the most. The way back was a little bit better. She did sleep a majority of the flight. I think just the timing of it worked out to where we were leaving at what was about her bedtime. So she did sleep all but like an hour of that flight, which was really nice. She did only sleep, I think, in her car seat for like an hour or so, and the rest of the time she was on me. I probably could have read, but the readathon was over at that point because it was January. I don't know exactly how many points I got. I will try to total it up on the screen because I haven't been keeping track. I've been submitting it, but I haven't been tallying it up at all. Anyhow, this is always kind of a fun little thing to do in the month of December. It's nice because I do get some time off, so I do maybe read a little bit more, but now that I have a kid, it is a little bit harder to read. I think as she gets older, maybe it'll get easier. I don't know. Anyhow, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see future videos. I'm hoping to put one up a month, but we'll see if that actually happens. Again, life gets busy when you're working and have a child, and this isn't my job, so this is just a hobby, something I do on the side for fun. If there's anything you would like to see me do or any books you'd like to see me read, let me know, and I will maybe try to get around to it. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!